Does this look like Emma Watson to you? No? Let's try and see if we can transform this doll so she actually looks like live-action Belle. Hello everyone, welcome to my channel where I make custom Barbie and LOL dolls with a focus on realistic repaints inspired by characters from movies and series. Apart from this Belle transformation, I am planning on doing a few more Disney live-action transformations, as well as recreating some Marvel characters and different pop culture icons. But let's get back to today's video. I'm sure all of you know the notorious Emma Watson dolls that made headlines back in 2017 when the Beauty and the Beast live-action movie was released. The repaints I saw in news articles were what got me initially hooked in doll customization. So I thought it would be very fitting that my first repaint video now, 7 years later, would be an Emma Watson repaint as well. Now, this isn't one of the famously horrible dolls. This is a Hasbro doll that doesn't look too bad, I think. But at the same time, it looks nothing like Emma Watson in my opinion. So, enough talking. Let's get into the video and see if we can change that. First, I'm removing the doll's face with pure acetone. Then I'm using hot water to warm up the vinyl before taking off the head. Before I start painting, I'm sealing the face with 3 layers of Citadel Monitorium varnish, and I'm also using the same spray to seal each layer of paint. I know most doll customizers swear by Mr. Super Clear, but I live someplace where I can't get Mr. Super Clear shipped. So after some extensive research and some testing, my choice fell onto Citadel Monitorium varnish. The other spray I tested was Vallejo matte varnish, but I really didn't like how it turned out on vinyl heads. The result was very uneven and partially glossy looking. The Citadel Monitorium can look glossy, but I feel like that has more to do with weather conditions when drying. More on that later in the video. The pencils I'm using for painting the face are the Faber-Castell Albrecht Dürer watercolor pencils, and for shading I'm using Rembrandt soft pastels applied with brushes. Since I feel like this doll has a very large chin area compared to Emma Watson's actual face, I decided to draw on her mouth open rather than closed in order to make the chin appear slightly smaller. I feel like even after just the first layer you can already see more of a resemblance with Emma compared to the original face paint. On the second layer I'm repeating all the steps from the first layer to bring out more details and add more depth to the face. Especially the white pencil is starting to show up a lot more on the second layer. This is what the face looks like after the second layer of colored pencils, and I'm adding my 5th layer of Citadel Monitorum varnish. On top of that, I'm drawing on my 3rd layer of paint and soft pastels. And we're done! Just kidding, because when spraying the final 2 layers of Citadel Monitorum, the head frosted on the 2nd layer. And while I'm not even sure if you can tell on camera, the difference to before it had frosted was very noticeable. The face lacked depth in the mouth and eye area since all black had kinda turned grey, and it made the mouth especially look very unrealistic. So I added another layer of paint, or rather pencils, and that's the final look. Unfortunately, I don't have any footage of the process because I just wanted to quickly retouch it. But in the end, I feel like it turned out nicer and more detailed than before, so maybe it wasn't all bad having to redo the work. I think the problem with frosted sealant isn't unique to Citadel Monitorum. It appears to occur mainly due to high levels of humidity in the air, and now that I've looked more into the issue, I'm taking a couple of preventative steps to avoid it, such as looking for the time of day with the lowest humidity in my phone's weather app, and letting the sealed doll head dry in a dry box, as well as making a test on an unpainted sample before sealing my actual work. An added bonus is that this has also helped with avoiding the dried sealant looking glossy. Now onto the body. Initially I was going to use this Barbie Looks number 13 body, because even though I think it's kind of a waste to use a Barbie Looks as a body donor, she was the closest fit of skin tone I could find. However, even though the 2 bodies matched quite closely, after shading Belle's face it had a slightly darker and more yellowish undertone to it, which is why I ended up using this Barbie fashionista as a body donor. She is one of the fashionistas that come with a wheelchair, and I'm quite happy that she ended up being a good fit for Belle, because this way I can use the Barbie Looks number 13 head for a project together with her original body. When getting that all dressed, an issue were of course the feet, since the Hasbro body has much bigger feet than the tiny made-to-move Barbie feet. While the shoes looked okay, I guess, they didn't really stay on very well, so I decided to craft some sort of socks or fur lining for the shoes to make them stay in place a little better. I cut off the fake molded socks from the original shoes and then tried creating new socks using this brown fabric. I'm really bad at sewing, so I tried my best finding a solution that would work without sewing but still look decent. I glued together some little fabric rectangles that I then attached with some clear rubber bands. As a hair accessory, I wanted to craft this blue headband that Emma is wearing in some of the scenes of the live-action movie. I ended up using it as a hair tie instead, but anyway, here's how I did it. I'm using these little wired paper pieces that tend to come as a sort of closure with some grocery items like bread. Initially, I tried painting them with colored pencils, but that didn't turn out very well, so I ended up painting over it with acrylics instead. Now onto my favorite accessories for this project. I really wanted to give Belle some books, and I found this Etsy store called Easy Print and Cut, who have really lovely miniature items in their store that all come in the form of digital files that you can then print out and craft yourself. When getting things for a Barbie collection, you just want to make sure that the item you're getting is 1/6 scale and not 1/12 scale. The first book I'm crafting is Alice in Wonderland, simply because aesthetically it seemed exactly like the type of book the Beast would have in its library. It turned out a bit wonky, but that's okay. It's supposed to be an old book, so looking like it's falling apart kind of fits the aesthetic. Next up is this ancient-looking Christmas carols book that I solely chose because it looks exactly like the reference picture I was using from the movie.
I was so proud how well the second book turned out. Until I realized I glued the cover on backwards. You wouldn't even have noticed when just using the closed book as a prop for Belle, but it really bothered me, so I tore the whole thing apart and glued it back together. When testing the books with Belle's body, I felt like the yellow paper printed inside the books was working really well, but from the outside the white edges of the paper kind of gave away that this wasn't actual old paper, so I decided to give it some brownish shading with my Rembrandt soft pastels, and I feel like that is making a real difference. Now last but not least, Belle is getting a Little Women book. When I saw it in the Easy Print and Cut Etsy shop, of course I had to get it. With Emma Watson playing one of the four sisters in the latest Little Women film adaptation, this seems like a perfect fit. The only problem was, I could only find a 1/12 version of this book, not a 1/6 version. I scaled it up before printing to about double its original size, and while it's still a little smaller than the other two books, I feel like it works perfectly with the doll. Overall, I just love these miniature books. I love all the details and the fact that they are fully functioning and just so realistic. Now, can you already guess what this last accessory will be? Since I really wanted to recreate the scene from the movie where Belle is standing on a ladder in the Beast's library, I had to try and craft a ladder. be honest, I don't really know what I'm doing, and I feel like you can tell by how badly the letter turned out, but I guess it's good enough as a prop to get some nice footage in the end, and I'm hoping that with the backdrop it will all come together nicely. And yeah, this is what I thought was the final letter, but it turns out I put it together the wrong way, so I took it apart again, and this time the little wood sticks go into the flat side, not the curved side. Not that it makes much of a difference, but yeah. I'm then painting the whole thing with dark brown acrylics, and to be honest, I think this is where it starts to go really wrong, because looking back, I actually liked it more unpainted than painted. I feel like I could have used lighter paint and then maybe tried to give it more of a wood texture, and also I should have given it a matte varnish in the end, because the semi-glossiness of the letter kind of ruins the supposed wooden look. But what's done is done, and I guess the only thing left to say is, should you ever want to craft a letter like this, do not do what I did. Come up with a better idea. So, last but not least, the backdrop. I could have just gone to a copy shop and gotten the whole thing printed out onto A1 sized paper, but I chose to suffer instead and printed out 8 A4 sized sheets with my printer at home that I then glued together. My printer does have this function where it lets you print out borderless A4 sheets. However, this resulted in the outer part of the images being cut off, which led to very visible seams when gluing the sheets together, so I decided to put myself through even more suffering by printing off all of the 8 sheets with borders, cutting off the borders, and then gluing it all together. What's really funny about this is that when cutting off the borders manually, for the most part I didn't do a really good job. So I cut off slightly too much, and as a result the seams are just as visible as they were when doing the borderless print. But I guess that's the struggle of being a perfectionist. You take tons of extra time trying to perfect everything, only to realize afterwards that nothing is ever perfect and that you could have just gone down the quick and easy route instead and ended up with the same result. Anyway, the backdrop is done, and speaking of struggles, I then decided to finally put the painted Hasbro head onto the new Made to Move body, only to realize that the head pack of the Made to Move doll was way too big for the Hasbro head. I had the glorious idea to use this really sharp and pointy cutter to cut down the head pack. If you are a kid or if you are very clumsy like me, don't try this at home. I learned it the hard way and then decided to continue with nail clippers instead. This wasn't exactly quicker, but at least much safer. While the lower part was small enough now, the head pack was still too long. But after cutting it down as well, the head finally fit, I put in a painted hair tie and voila!
That was it for today. These are the final results. What do you think? Did I succeed? Can you see the resemblance with Emma Watson? If you enjoyed this video, I'd appreciate it a lot if you could leave a like or a comment. And if you want to see more of my doll transformations, feel free to subscribe. I'm already working on a live-action Little Mermaid repaint as well, so there's exciting content coming soon. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time. Bye!